everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, December 9th, 2018. Is Billy playing games with Phyllis, or does he really want her back now? That's our poll question for the week at yrchat.com. I'm trying to wrap my brain around everything that Billy was saying to Sharon on Friday's show. Billy, if he isn't playing games and he is about ready to go crawling back to Phyllis, has had a complete personality change after really just a couple of short interactions with Phyllis. This week, Billy and Phyllis were pitching the Genoa partnership as partners. They're working together as a team to pitch Genoa to this Rebecca Barlow, bigwig cosmetics lady. And they are working in sync very well. They're finishing each other's sentences. They're complimenting each other's thoughts. And it's almost for a split second like they're the power couple. But that's not how Phyllis sees it. Phyllis wants to be a power couple with Nick. She's perfectly happy kicking back at Nick's mansion. Having all the power, closing the deal with Rebecca Barlow, trying to use all of the resources that she has at her disposal, including Nick's big baby blue eyes, big smile, big dimples. During this business pitch, when Phyllis and Rebecca had a private moment alone together to talk, Rebecca is noticing Nick, who's sitting at another table at the athletic club, and she's asking to be introduced to Nick, Phyllis's boyfriend. And Phyllis realizes that essentially what this woman is asking is to be hooked up with her boyfriend. So Phyllis goes home to Nick and she gives him a massage. And that massage almost seemed for an instant to be taking place a little below the belt. Did anyone else notice that, or is that just my dirty mind playing tricks on me? Because Phyllis was massaging Nick up on the shoulders, and then it seemed like she reached in front of him below the camera frame. Scandalous. She's buttering him up. Asking him to do a favor for her. She wants Nick to woo this client. Literally woo this client. Like, flash her that smile, get her to sign this contract. And Nick doesn't really want to do it. I loved the moment where he said, I can't handle any more woman than you. Like, you're enough woman for me. I do not need to go pretending to be on dates. But she really wants him to do this. This is an opportunity to prove how savvy they are as a power couple. So Nick reluctantly agrees and quickly gets more than he bargained for, because apparently Rebecca Barlow came to Genoa City with a lingerie set in her bag just in case. She came prepared. Girl's prepared. She and Nick are having a drink in her suite. Nick thinks that he's just gonna do a little flirting with this woman, get her to sign the papers, then be on his way. But Rebecca accidentally spills some wine on her skirt. She goes to the bathroom to change, and she comes back in this boobalicious lingerie, and we all know how much Nick loves boobs. has just seen Nick and Rebecca slinking off upstairs to her hotel suite. Billy assumes that Nick is cheating on Phyllis, so he runs to Phyllis to tattle on Nick, telling Phyllis that, you know, once a cheater, always a cheater, and I was a lot of things, but I never cheated on you, and I just don't ever want to see you get hurt again. The way she threw her head back and laughed in his face, I actually laughed out loud in that moment. Are you kidding me, Billy? You cannot possibly be serious right now. You don't want Phyllis to get hurt? First of all, you've been working behind her back for weeks to try to get her fired or humiliated out of her job. And that's why I still feel suspicious that maybe that's what he's trying to do. But second of all, and more importantly, you don't want to see Phyllis get hurt, yet you slept with her daughter specifically to hurt her. You think that just because you never technically cheated on her, that's going to somehow make you better than Nick in her eyes? I think she just about laughed him out the front door. Just like, a goodbye, and no thank you. But. Then at the end of Friday's show, we saw Phyllis showing up at the front of Rebecca's hotel room door. So a little bit of insecurity has gone a long way here. Phyllis is standing there wondering, how seriously did Nick take her when she asked him to woo Rebecca? Is he in there right now, stealing more than the deal? Oh no, the ranch stables have caught on fire, and Victor has gone missing, and Ray is now immediately investigating an arson. Ray calls Nick and Nikki and Victoria down to the police station to reveal to them what he found at the stables. It's a gun with Victor's fingerprints and a white shirt with JT's blood all over it. And now Victor Newman is the prime suspect in the murder of JT Hellstrom. Okay, first of all, Ray is an even worse investigator than Paul Williams, and that's saying something. If Ray thinks anything other than that this is a setup, what is Ray's theory even? Victor shot JT. He left the evidence, all of it, together and intact, and then months later, he decided to set the stables on fire, the entire stables on fire, to destroy a shirt. I mean, the gun could easily have been wiped and put back into his gun case, and the shirt could have been burned in the bathtub. Victor would have been done with it all in 15 minutes. Wipe the gun, burn the shirt, 15 minutes. He didn't need to light the entire stables on fire to not destroy those two things, because Victor is usually so careless in all of his plans. Oops. He didn't even manage to destroy all of the evidence. He just managed to draw attention to it. This is so dumb, this is so dumb, this is so dumb. And I want out. I want out of it. I want out of this story. Not more of this. If Ray had half a brain, he would see that someone planted it there. It's really obvious. The gun looked good as new. And it didn't look like it had been burned in a fire at all, and apparently the the shirt was flame retardant. I don't know. I don't know how the shirt would possibly not have been burned in the fire. That shirt didn't have a burned fiber on it. JT is still alive. Let's just work on accepting it. JT was trying to kill Victor before he supposedly got killed, and now JT is trying to frame Victor for his murder. I don't know exactly how JT got out of the ground or if he was ever even the one who was in the ground in the first place. I just know that this storyline is going to end up being a wild goose chase, just like Jack's paternity storyline. Okay, fine. Wrap it up, Y&R. It's become increasingly infuriating to me as the weeks and months have dragged on. Why also do we have to drag Tessa back into it? I don't know why Y&R had to involve Tessa in this whole thing in the first place. I don't know why they couldn't have just let Mariah and Tessa be happy for a second. That would have been preferable to me. Mariah says that she's on the verge of breaking up with Tessa, that she just can't get past the lie. She even tells Kyle that she's afraid to leave Tessa because she's afraid that she won't be able to find anybody else who will love her. That is an awful reason to stay with someone. If that's how Mariah actually feels, then she needs to just do herself a favor and start the goodbye train right now. But she won't. She will not, because there's no thing like danger to bring two people together. This whole thing is going to push Mariah back into Tessa's arms. At the tail end of Friday's show, the Margarita crew are again speculating about this whole JT death situation. Only this time they're speculating about who could have framed Victor with this evidence. Must be Tessa. And the next thing we know, we see the old bag over the head and Tessa's keys dropped to the floor. Mariah is going to be so ticked off when she finds out about this, and she should be. It is way uncivilized to be kidnapping someone. Okay? This situation has escalated so freaking far out of control. And Mariah is going to come to Tessa's rescue, and she's gonna say, "Oh, Tessa, how could they do this to you? You poor victim. I still love you. Let's read poetry in bed together." But none of that actually erases what Mariah just said to Kyle. If you feel that you can't trust Tessa, but you're afraid to leave her because you're afraid that you're not going to find anyone else, then the only thing being kidnapped here is your dignity. At least Mia's makeup party was a delightful mess. I really enjoyed that. Y&R made my wish come true. We had beauty products and cocktails and makeovers. Esther got a makeover. Esther was the only person at that party who was legitimately interested in Mia's services. And Mia treated her like she was a nuisance. I don't get it. Does the town council put that in their welcome letter? Welcome to Genoa City. If you happen to run into Esther Valentine, be sure to treat her like a second-class citizen. I don't know. It was funny though that Mia was wearing a knockoff of a designer dress, and then Abby showed up at the door trying to show some Rosales family solidarities, and she's the girlfriend of Arturo, shows up at the door wearing the actual dress, the real deal. So they're both standing there in this almost exact same dress. It was funny, really funny. I mean, it kind of says something about their personalities, right? Abby's very authentic. She's the real deal. And Mia's just trying to put on this fake show. She's trying to pretend to be something that she's not. I think it'll be fun to continue to peel away those layers of Mia as time goes on. And there was a little piece of that too. There was an interesting moment where Abby and Lola were sitting on the couch talking about Lola's food truck menu, and Abby was lavishing all of this attention on how brilliant Lola's work was, but Mia was eavesdropping in the background, and she thought that they were talking about her portfolio. And she had this moment of feeling really flattered, like she wants to be accepted. But then she realized what they were really talking about and that she was on the outside of that conversation. Abby is definitely acting more like sisters-in-law with Lola than Mia does, even though it was nice to see Lola helping out, catering Mia's party, and also showing some solidarity. Well, they needed to have good food at that party because the margarita crew was there. The who's who's of Genoa City women were there. The margarita crew essentially only there though to fish for information about Ray's investigation with Ray's wife. That's the only reason they were there. That's a little bit sad to me because Mia seemed really authentically excited about having Victor Newman standing in her tiny little apartment. And you know that Victor Newman never would have set her designer pumps through that threshold if she didn't have to. She was really just trying to get to the bottom of the information. Oh, it was good. Also because we had a confrontation between Sharon and Mia. Sharon is standing there the whole night trying to play nice, but totally loses it and gets inappropriate. She apparently cannot listen to Mia make little jabs about Ray and his work the entire night. Sharon has to jump in and defend Ray. So Sharon lets Mia have it about what an upstanding and great guy Ray is. And then Sharon gets embarrassed and excuses herself. Well, now here's where it gets good because Sharon went downstairs to the coffee house. She runs into Ray. And now Mia has been gloating to Sharon and anyone who will listen about how she and Ray's marriage is way back on track in every way. Humana, humana. And Ray was very blunt with Sharon when she alluded to that. He tells her that that's really not at all true. In fact, Ray admits that he actually feels like he's losing the battle with his feelings for Sharon. He tells Sharon he's losing the battle with his feelings for her. Ah! Sharon swooned hard in that moment. She got all up like close next to him. Like she was now magnetically drawn to him. Like their crotches were magnetically drawn to one another in that moment. And then Mia walks in. Mia walks in, breaks up that little magnetic moment, drags Ray by his ear back upstairs. I get the feeling that Sharon had to run back in to the storage room at Crimson Lights and dump a bucket of ice down her pants after that. Hi, Mom and Dad! You know that prestigious law school education that you guys have been paying for? Well, guess what? I'm quitting law school to become a musician. Michael reacted pretty much how I would have reacted. Deep sigh, hand over his face. I've said it before. Of all of the characters on this show, I feel like I identify most with Michael and his personality, just rolling my eyes. at the ridiculousness. I would be like, okay, son, so you're choosing to throw away the education that we've paid for so that you can become an artist, something that you could do on the side, by the way, and we're supposed to just support you and let you move back in with us? Fen didn't ask to move back in. He announced that he was moving back in with mom and dad. Okay, fine. You're old enough to make your own decisions, but you're also old enough to handle the consequences of them. Hope you didn't blow all of your money on that hotel room last night just because you forgot your house key, so you decided to stay at the athletic club, because you're going to be needing some money to get yourself an apartment. Maybe I'll give you 1 month of staying at home, but there are no freeloaders in this house. Oh no, you don't just get to quit law school, come home, freeload off of me so that you can go be an artist. No. Lauren was a little more lenient than Michael and I were. She remembers being at Fen's age and being out on tour with Danny Romolotti. This was a magical time in her life, and I'm sure she's feeling a little nostalgic for it. So Lauren seems a little more inclined to let Fen chase his dream. Michael tried to zero in on when this even became a dream. He says to Fen, so since when are you even interested in music at all? And Fen says, oh, this is so dumb. He met a girl in a bar, started playing with her on stage, and that made him discover his love of singing. Millionaire heir meets guitar girl in bar. Sound like anyone we know might be that guitar girl? Fen is screwing up. Do you remember this kid had a drug addiction? I mean, I don't know, was it meth or something? He was into something hardcore. He was a little tweaker for a while. So the fact that he would just be throwing away his education to follow being an artist would not fly with me. And he also seems very easily distracted by the ladies. He got a bad case of love at first sight with Lola. The second he laid eyes on her, he just wanted her. He was absolutely determined to have her. This was a thing that he was going to acquire. But she's already involved with his newest rival, Kyle. Okay, so I've been saying for weeks now that Kyle and Lola will need a real challenge, that summer wasn't enough, that she wasn't actually a challenge for them. So now the challenge has arrived, and Fen is its name. So long, Shauna. It was nice knowing you. Pretty much just like we speculated last week, Shauna's exit only ended up making Devon feel more alone, feel more isolated. No telling what it's gonna do to poor Charlie. His mom got sent to prison and his girlfriend got sent to Colorado. And Kane was such a dictator in that situation about the whole thing. Kane never even liked Shauna. Kane blamed Shauna for telling everybody that Lily was the cause of the accident, so I can't help thinking that maybe Kane just wanted Shauna to go. Especially when his advice to Charlie was pretty much, well, sucks to lose the woman that you love. Guess we're in the same boat now. When did Nate and Kane get such power, such control over everyone's life, including Devon's? I asked you guys last week if you felt like Devon's family needed to help him more or to just back off of him a little bit more. 81%, overwhelming majority said back off, back off. And that's how I voted. That seems about right to me. I still feel that way. When the drugs were brought to Devon's attention, no one even gave Devon an opportunity to fix it. They just shipped Shauna off to Colorado, where there are no drugs at all. The decision-making was taken out of Devon's hands. I don't know why he's allowing that. I would lock these people out of my apartment. Devon needed Shauna in a way, and he blames Kane for sending her away. Shauna was Devon's last tie to Hillary, and he even said to Kane, Lily took Hillary, and now you just want to erase her from my memory. That's what's going on here. That's how I feel, at least. So he goes out drinking. The next morning, after a long night of partying, he comes home. He's clearly hungover, and Nate had definitely been looking through the peephole of his apartment door to see when Devon got home, waiting for Devon to get home. I mean, you mean to tell me that Nate just so happened to be going out for his morning run at the exact same moment that Devon was getting home, and then they bumped into him in the hallway? I think not. This is a pattern of behavior. And Nate comes up with this whole cure, wants to cure Devon of his hangover by blending up a bunch of weird ingredients into a green goopy drink and then having Devon drink it, and the whole time he's being as loud and obnoxious about it as possible. I can't help but think that that whole hangover scene would have been cute and lighthearted. I wanted to enjoy it. If Nate and Kane hadn't been hounding Devon for weeks now, like, would letting Devon get some sleep, is that so totally out of the question? Anna had the lighter touch that I was really hoping and looking for. Anna is such a sweetie. I mean, she's really young and naive, and when she was talking to Devon about his loss, she was really only able to relate to his situation by talking about the biggest loss of her own that she's experienced, and that's the loss of her love of music, her passion, that she expressed that she was mourning having to watch that slip away. And I thought it was really genuine of her to try and find a way to relate to him, even though it's not the same. And I think that Devon was really touched by her in that moment. It showed how much she cared for him, and I think that's why he entertained her suggestion that he go to see a counselor. Well, actually, of course, it was Nate's suggestion. Nate totally used Anna. I gotta quit calling her Anna. He used Anna to deliver this suggestion that Devon go to the counselor. Nate already had a counselor completely picked out and wanted Devon to go see him. I have to admit, though, that counseling session was excellent. I felt better afterward. The therapist was so empathetic and so reasonable. It was like finally someone to tell Devon that all the things that he's feeling are valid. And also, that counselor gave Devon a sounding board to talk about his family. He needed a sounding board that wasn't his family to talk about his family. I was just so glad to finally hear Devon say some of the things to the counselor that he hasn't been able to say to them. I was glad to hear Devon or anyone finally acknowledge the whole risky surgery that Nate performed on Hillary. That was never fully addressed. Did that have any kind of impact on her death? Were there complications from that surgery that caused her to die? I don't know. But the fact that Devon was still holding on to some resentment about it makes total sense to me. And frankly, I also was never fully sold on Devon's miracle courtroom turnaround regarding his relationship with Lily. Devon was so resentful and so rage-filled toward Lily. And then at the second half of her sentencing, he just flipped that and it all seemed to evaporate, and he asked the judge to have mercy on her, and it was never followed up on after that. I mean, of course, Devon can still be resentful toward Lily, still have that rage, but he could also not want her to go to prison at the same time. I think those two things can coexist, but we never really saw any type of follow-up on it. We never saw him talk about it until now. This counseling session really allowed Devon to have the exposition that the audience wanted to hear from him. So thank you for that, Y&R. I also really liked the way they worked in Devon's feelings about taking a prescription from the doctor. There's definitely a stigma that some people have about taking medication. I'm sure a lot of people really struggle to even make the leap into allowing themselves to take the medication. Plus, Devon's mother was a drug addict. Plus, Neil was an alcoholic. Plus, the fact that Devon was so concerned about taking prescription drugs totally clears up the issue of the drugs that were found in his apartment last week, because he said, I would never take drugs, ever. I'm opposed to it. But the doctor talked him through his resistance about taking something that might actually help him instead of self-medicating with alcohol, which is something that will never help solve anything. It'll only make it worse. Walking out of that therapy session, honestly, I felt like a weight had been lifted off of me, off of Devon, and then he walked back into that apartment where Nate is barking at him about this big meeting with Rebecca Barlow that he's supposed to have. Okay, yes, maybe Devon was a little ill-prepared for it, but he did make sure to task Anna with doing the prep work for the meeting. And frankly, I thought Rebecca Barlow seemed like a complete jerk. Who would want to do business with someone who threw a little fit and called you unprofessional just because there was a scheduling conflict with the artist and a miscommunication about the contents of the meeting? Ugh. But all of that drama around Rebecca Barlow and Nate having been nagging Devon right before the meeting, making him feel like he can't handle the one role that he's clinging to, being a professional in the music industry. That's the only thing he's clinging to right now about his self-identity, and Nate was questioning that. It causes Devon to have a panic attack right in the middle of the meeting. I felt awful for him. Like, I'm sure he's thinking, am I having a heart attack? Am I having a panic attack? How do I, do I ask for help? Do I try to cover it up? Anna was his saving grace. She looked at him and she was concerned about saving him, but she was also trying to distract Rebecca Barlow, sell her on this whole pitch. Again, I'm sorry, but Rebecca Barlow, what a horrible woman. It was so clear that Devon was standing there, clenching his chest, sweating. He could have been having a heart attack, and Rebecca was just sitting there with headphones on. Mercifully, Anna was able to help Devon get the medication. My only one little question is, when Anna identified that there was a problem with Devon, he said he was having some anxiety, and she goes immediately to his briefcase and pulls out the prescription. How did she know that it was in there? When Devon asked her about it later, she said that she recognized the name of the drug that was on the bottle. She knew someone who was also on it. But how did she know to open up his briefcase in the first place? Like, the second he said, I'm having anxiety, she just turned around and went to his briefcase. That doesn't make sense to me. And I really hope that this doctor that Devon is seeing is completely legit and not in any way feeding any information back to Nate. Devon did ask the counselor about that. He said, this is confidential, right? And the doctor assured him that he's legally, ethically bound to keep their sessions private, and I really hope that's what happens, because Devon needs someone he can trust right now. He needs someone who is neutral right now. And I just really hope that he continues on with these counseling sessions. I would be totally okay to see a few more of these. They were therapeutic for me. It is also therapeutic for me to see the relationship that's developing between Devon and Anna. I like that Anna has become a positive influence on Devon, just a bright spot in his life. I like that she is supportive of him at a time when he needs it most. I mean, finally, the family member that Devon needs and deserves. Hey, who doesn't love sex, right? Right, Y&R Chatters? That was our line from last week. It was Abby who said that to Lola about how some guys might be a little weirded out learning that a girl is a virgin. I mean, who doesn't love sex, right? A lot of you guys caught that line, so congratulations, Robbie, Jamie, Henry, Heather, Nancy, Laura, Tommy, Jillian, Jackie, Rose, and Diana. You guys all got it right. I liked this line from our episodes this week. When we last left our lugubrious lovers. Lugubrious lovers. I've never heard the word lugubrious in my entire life. So I knew that that was the line. I had to look it up. I wonder if you guys caught it. If you did, go to yrchat.com and tell me who you think said it. If you get it right, I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. Lugubrious, lugubrious, lugubrious. Try to say that 3 times in a row. Oh, let's get down to some comments. Starting out with Robbie, who says, Devon's family needs to back off a little. It's clear Devon is going through a hard time right now, but the family needs to let Devon work this out on his own. They can offer support and be there for him, but if Devon's not in the right place to receive their kind of support, they need to let Devon go through his own stuff. If it gets bad or dangerous, or if Devon starts failing at work responsibilities, then the family should step in. Otherwise, they need to let Devon live. I wanted to zero in on one little part of that comment, Robbie, because does the fact that Devon failed a little bit at that Rebecca Barlow meeting, does that count as his failing with work responsibilities? And after hearing how Devon feels in the counseling session, do we feel like his family's concern was more justified? Like, hearing things from Devon's perspective, does that help fill in our blank as far as why the family is motivated and making it seem like there's this huge problem? Like, is that all justified now? It still doesn't feel that way for me, as you can probably tell. I still feel annoyed by Nate. I still feel annoyed by Kane. I appreciate that someone was able to move him toward counseling, but maybe they should have done that a while ago instead of just nagging. Nagging someone is not going to change someone. Devon just needed a tool to help him help himself. Leslie says Nate needs his own storyline. I loved him when he first arrived, but he's become nothing but a sanctimonious caricature. He has so much potential, and I do not think that Carrie is the answer unless she turns out to have a Mamie connection and not love interests. Maybe if Nate helps her to discover her past as an adopted child or ultimately related to Mamie and Nate, his love interest needs to be somebody we already have previously known. Maybe Victoria, since I can't think of anyone else. First of all, Nate does need his own story. That's the key. Nate hasn't done anything in a long time except come on in, judge other characters, and try to help other characters. I think his heart's in the right place. I remember when he first came on the show too, and I thought he was excellent. I liked his wisdom. It was being played really well, but Y&R needs to pull that back. As you said, they need to give him his own story, whether it's a romantic thing or another familial thing. I don't know. But they need to start working on that. T. Nicole says, I really appreciate seeing Devon in his therapy sessions for the purpose of understanding where his head is at. I'm connecting to how Devon feels. And it was good to hear his situation through the therapist as a third party, unbiased person to the whole story. And to realize how much loss and complicated family dynamics he has endured. It almost seemed unusual that the therapist was so positively reinforcing of Devon's feelings. I guess I've never been to a therapist, but I guess I would imagine that it would be more neutral. But this therapist was like, yeah, you've been through so much and I hear you. And I think that's what Devon needed. I don't think he needed someone that was just going to sit there with a pencil and paper and say, He actually had someone there who was reaffirming some of the feelings that he was having. And I think that's why it came off so well. Gary says, this is such a well-chosen story for the show to explore. And I like that it's coming later instead of right on the heels of Hillary's death. I think why it's such a good story to explore is because it's in the hands of Brighton James. It's just beautiful. I know. Brighton does have a way of handling and delivering these lines that just feels real. It just feels like he is a human being. He doesn't try to make it big. He doesn't try to act over the top. His performance is very subtle. Gary had also commented on, what if this story, this counseling session were happening with someone like Nick or Billy? Like another guy would have brought his pompousness probably into the session, but there's something about the fact that Brighton James plays it so right up front. It just feels so real and realistic. And I think you're right that really lends to the beautiful story. And I have seen just overwhelming comments of people loving that counseling scene this week. So I think most people needed it and appreciated it. Joanne says, Anna reminds me of Tracy. She has kind words and she's supportive and she has a gentle demeanor. I agree, Joanne. There is something just so sweet about her and also so real. I think everybody in Genoa City needs to have a family member like Anna or like Tracy. I think, most of the main families have one, except for the Newmans. Maybe that's Abby? I'm not sure. Who is the kinder, gentler Newman? None of them. Maybe Faith in the future. Nah, she's going to be screwed up. I don't know. The spawn of Victor Newman just can't get over themselves to be kind and supportive and gentle. Ellen wants to weigh in about Carrie here, saying, I may still be way off on this, but Carrie ghosted Jack shortly after he mentioned Mamie. I think he was reminiscing about the Thanksgivings of his childhood. Maybe Carrie is a grandniece. She can't be a granddaughter if the boarding school story is the truth, right? Mamie wouldn't have been in service all those years if her child had money. Anyway, just keeping this theory alive. I didn't notice that when Carrie left, it was right before Jack was talking about Mamie. Dang, I should go back and watch that scene. Maybe that's the clue. Because no doubt, no matter what, Y&R is gonna give us more from Carrie. They brought her on real stealth, but there will be some type of twist or turn in her character. They didn't bring her on just to develop Jabot cosmetics, no doubt. Oh, let's get into this ranch fire if we must. I'll start out with a positive note. Diana says, I think this is the first time that we've heard the horses' names that are on the ranch. Buck was one of the names Victoria mentioned. It would be nice if there was actually a scene where we got to see the horses once in a while. I know it's hard for the show to do, but more outdoor scenes of the ranch would be great to see, and it would make the ranch feel more realistic. Yes, I know. Well, I think Buck is the name of the ranch hand, but she did name off a couple of other horse names after that. Like, I really liked the feeling that these are their animals. The horses live on the ranch. They're a part of the family, and I loved that they were really concerned about them. I think that Buck actually was on the show at a point. I don't really remember why or what he looked like, but I'm pretty sure that we saw him in the past. But I agree with you. I would love to have more of a sense of the ranch outdoors. We get all of these really great cityscapes now. This week we had a beautiful shot of Genoa City that as it was covered in ice. Looked really, really beautiful. And it was a great contrast to the visual element of the fire. You know, we had the hot flames of the burning orange fire contrasted with the next morning, the icy white landscape of Genoa City. I think Mal has done a wonderful job of bringing us into our urban parts of Genoa City, but I do miss having that sense of country. It's uniquely Midwest. I mean, you can drive 10 minutes outside of any city and you're in the middle of nowhere. Oh, Laura says, what happened to JT after the women buried him in Chancellor Park? He wasn't bloody then. Well, my thoughts exactly, Laura. At the time when JT went down, we were commenting on the fact that he died a quick, bloodless death. So I suspect the answer is it's all a setup. I think JT's still alive. He put his own blood on the shirt recently. And you would think, though, by the way, that a forensic analysis would be able to identify how long ago, like how old the blood was. No. Tanya says, I wonder what's going on with Victor. Why is he not picking up his phone? Good question. Victoria and Nikki this week are trying desperately to get a hold of Victor, but they're getting a message saying that the phone number is out of service. I'm cynical about this whole thing, so I'm gonna say it's probably just a plot device to delay, to create anticipation for, but to delay the actuality of Victor's return. I have a feeling that the reason his phone was off will probably never be followed up on. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, but Daisy has an actual theory here that is not JT is still alive. Daisy was breaking down the main suspects of the ranch fire. Could be Victor, could be Phyllis, as Sharon was insisting. Could be Tessa, could be JT himself. But Daisy says, I think Ray is involved in kidnapping Victor and burning the barn, and Christine was not far behind allowing it. What better way to gain access to the Newman Ranch than to first kidnap Victor so Nikki can't get a hold of him, and then second to burn down the barn so he can gain access into the Newman home. I mean, that is a theory, because now that there was an arson investigation and they found evidence inside of the barn, that certainly gives them cause to now get inside the home. And we do all know that Christine had her vendetta against Victor. It is possible. Oh, let's check in with our resident Tessa and Mariah fan. Heather says, so the entirety of Friday's episode points to the murder coven totally kidnapping Tessa. Not cool at all. Tessa has been beat up, threatened on a daily basis, saw her sister and Mariah get threatened, learned her girlfriend's mom helped murder a guy and cover it up, used it to make her own blackmailers go away so that her loved ones would be safe, lost nearly everything when she trusted Mariah enough to confess, her girlfriend's trust, her barista gig, her security stash, her reputation. All the while, the murder coven are still running free, still lying, still committing crimes. Why can't Ray be better at his job? The murder coven needs to be locked up like yesterday. Let's let Superplex follow up on that by saying, I can only imagine what Mariah's reaction will be once she learns the news. I imagine that she will get very upset to the point that she may confess the truth to Ray. I think that scene between Mariah and Ray at Crimson Lights is foreshadowing. I was wondering about that teeny tiny little moment at the end of Friday's show where Ray was coming into the coffee house saying he had a bad day and Mariah was saying, yeah, I had a bad day too. Mariah now knows the secret. Y&R may very well have been establishing that for a reason. What if Mariah is so incensed by what the women have done to Tessa that what she does is bust them out? Possible. That would certainly create a little bit of an equalizer for Mariah and Tessa, wouldn't it? It would make, you know, Tessa's done XYZ bad things and Mariah has been nothing but a little supportive angel for the most part. Well, except for telling the women. But if Mariah were to turn around and tattle to the police about what the women had done, that would maybe cast some negative light onto Mariah and rebalance the scales of their relationship, maybe. Jillian was the first person who tipped my little brain off to this point, so well done, Jillian. Could Tessa be the ex that Fenn was referring to? Music career, check. Out of town, check. Son of a wealthy CEO. I'd say check, Jillian. Very well done on that theory. I mean, you know it's true. The fact that Fenn came in, he's sitting at the table with Mariah and Kyle. We've already had the triangle that will be taking place established. We know it's going to be Fenn, Kyle, Lola. But we also had him making sure to talk to Mariah. So I would say that's at least a little bit of a hint. As to what the nature of that relationship will be now, I don't know. Maybe it could be like a triangle with Fenn in the middle of Kyle and Lola and Mariah and Tessa. I'm not sure, but I think it's a good clue. Diana says, I really love the new Fenn. I feel he's much better than the last actor who played him. Nothing against that actor, but I thought he always had a confused look on his face, and I didn't care for his look. This Fenn is much more confident. Yeah. We'll see. Laura says, Ted provided some comic interlude. You're not Fenmore, are you? It's great that the show doesn't take itself seriously. That was a fun moment. You're not Fenmore, are you? Ted's funny. I like Ted. I'm replacing Ted the bear with Ted the receptionist in my mind. Maybe Ted's my new favorite. I still miss Gloria, but Ted's funny. Go Ted. Who could we hook him up with? No. I'm going to resist the urge to hook him up. I'm going to let him be the fun receptionist. Oh, T. Nicole says, it is interesting, the change in dynamic. Because before, it was Lola who was insecure about Summer toward Kyle. And now it'll be Kyle's turn to see how it feels for a guy to be wanting Lola. Yes, those tables did turn. Y&R just plucked Summer out of that triangle and put Fenn right in. The only difference I would say is that when Lola was insecure about Kyle's relationship with Summer, it seemed almost a little more valid because Lola's a virgin, Summer's a slut. So it seems to make sense that Kyle might be frustrated, or it seems to make sense that Lola might be insecure, that Kyle would think, oh, Lola doesn't want to sleep with me and I want sex, so I'm just going to go to Summer, who will clearly provide me with sex. Whereas on the flip side of this triangle with Fen, what reason would Lola really have to step outside of her relationship with Kyle? We know it's not going to be sex. The only potential thing we could have would be if Kyle just does something bad and messes up, which Fen did sort of allude to. He did say, I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to let you have your girlfriend, but I'm going to sit back here and wait for you to mess it up, which I know you will. Marianne says, I just read on CBS schedule for the first part of 2019, where Life in Pieces is not on the schedule to return in early 2019. I'm now wondering if Summer's exit was planned with the probability of the show returning earlier. But since that's not the case, Summer could be back on Y&R sooner rather than later. Yeah, I mean, if they film about a month in advance, then they could certainly bring Summer back onto the scene, and maybe they will hack together a pregnancy storyline, since Fen's very well taken her place in that triangle. Yes, I hope so. I sure hope so. Well, let's end on Laura here saying thank you for a great chat. Housework is so much less painful while listening to the week wrap-up. Thank you so much. Thank you, Laura. I listen to podcasts while I do housework too. I wanted to mention that because I do the exact same thing. Like, it makes cleaning my toilet so much more bearable. Well, I sure am glad that I'm able to provide you guys with sort of a 6th episode, unless it's already a 4-episode week and then it's a 5th episode of Y&R. I wasn't expecting there to be only 4 episodes, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys missed Thursday because Wednesday's show was preempted and then Thursday's show was preempted, but they released an episode on CBS.com. I guess they just didn't want to get too far behind, or I don't know if that was re-aired on any of your other local channels. Sometimes they re-air on Pop late in the middle of the night, so I don't know that everybody even got to see all 4 episodes, but I did, and I enjoyed them extra, I think, because there were so few. But I did use my extra time on Wednesday wisely, I assure you. I'm sure that you did too. Well, YRChat.com is our website, as you know. Please feel free to go there and let her rip. Participate as much as you'd like. Vote in the polls. Leave me your comments. It's all good. I love hearing from you. And I will be back next week. You'll hear from me again on Sunday. So everybody have a good one. I love you, and I will see you then. Bye.